Rafael Devers traded yesterday afternoon in an absolute stunner of a move by the Red Sox and an absolute roller coaster of a weekend in terms of the emotions of Red Sox fans, given how well the team had been playing, how well the weekend went against the New York Yankees. This has certainly cast a pall over what it was that was going on at Fenway Park yesterday, which was the Red Sox completing a sweep of the New York Yankees. Devers traded to the Giants, no longer a member of the Red Sox, pulled off the team flight yesterday afternoon, returned to Fenway Park in a cab, not a car service or an Uber. No, old school, a cab.
Well, that's
from the airport.
That's easier though. No. You have to go to central parking, and there's a spot, and it's a long walk, and you don't want Rafael Devers walking through, central parking on level B, going over a crosswalk to get to where, we're going to drop you off, and then you're going to go catch your flight. Good luck.
There was no one in Fenway to go pick him up.
It's kind of a sign, right?
Don't you think the optics of that were bad?
Yes.
And I think it tells you how little respect
it's a shot
the team had for the player at this point in time.
Maybe he didn't have respect for them, and that's why his ass is going to San Francisco.
I saw that video of the cab pulling up at Fenway, and I said, they let him take an effing cab?
I can't.
They made him go back through security.
There was no member of the organization that could say, I'll hop in a car and I'll go pick him up. I'll go get him.
I mean, they all rode with the two kids.
There's no clubhouse guy. There's nobody. There's nobody at Fenway that can say, I'll take the quick ride over to Logan and go get the guy. No, they sent him back in a cab. They sent Rafael Devers, a guy that a couple of years ago they felt was worth $313 million. They sent him back in a cab. They said, go out to the cab stand and hail one. That's what they did. And I think that it just tells you.
He's off their books now. Like, why should they have to pay for him?
It just tells you that they didn't want him anymore. They had very little respect for him. And I also think the optics of him rushing to his car and getting the F out of there as fast as possible tells you how much maybe he didn't want to be here anymore. And maybe both sides didn't want each other anymore. But does that make it the right move for the Red Sox? Does that make them a better baseball team today?
No.
Or 5 days from now? Or 5 months from now? Or 5 years from now? Does this make them a better team?
You're not going to be able to answer that until the 5 month and a 5 year thing. And I think that's really what this is for. And you're always dead set against it. I'm sure you're in shock about this.
Absolutely against this, and have said as much for months about this.
I give them credit for it. I think it takes a lot of balls to do this. You just sweep the Yankees. But I don't think it was about the Yankees and what came together on the trade thing for the weekend. I think they were trying to move this guy for a while. And the fact you got a team to actually take every single cent of the contract, done deal. It's not about the 4 players or the bag of balls they got in return. It was about you found a team to actually take the entirety of the contract. When Casas blew his knee out and it just got shattered, and Devers was hell-bent about not going out to help the team the second time, I was the same way. I'm like, trade his ass. I came in here that day, I said, trade his ass. And I told you guys a month ago that there's something wrong with him inside that clubhouse. Many reasons. And when you got a young, impressionable team, and you're bringing up all these kids, and you say, okay, that guy, and what happened with Cora a week ago, the waving him off. Something wasn't right, and it's obvious something wasn't right. So I give them balls because this is a big piece you're taking away from your team. Right now, you're not a better team for this. You're gambling and rolling the dice that your team's going to come together and you're going to be a better team in the future. Like, okay, Roman Anthony comes in. Whose locker they put him to? Next to? Well, sure as hell wasn't Devers. It was Bregman's. Why's that? Like, Rafi came up through the system. He was a young guy. And this is a guy you chose to pay. You let Betts go. You let Bogarts go. And this is a guy, like you said, Beetle, you wanted to pay over $300 million. He was going to be the face of your franchise. Bottom line is he couldn't live up to all the stuff that comes with being the face of the franchise, like David Ortiz, like Dustin Pedroia, when they gave Pedroia the big deal. The accountability, Bogarts, all of it. Not just doing press conferences and that, but everything that comes with being the guy inside. He just wanted to hit baseballs. He didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah, he was really good at hitting baseballs, though. He was really good at hitting baseballs.
Yeah.
And he's been good at it recently, by the way. And this team has been really good recently. The timing of this deal is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy.
I don't think it had anything to do with yesterday, though. Like, this is probably done, you know?
But even if that's the case, you should be
Who's
working
talking?
harder with a month and a half until the trade deadline.
Did you do
to
the
get
morning
the best
show already?
package possible.
Did you do the morning
I
show?
did.
Should we
I
go
made an
on?
appearance.
Should we go on 98.5 The Sports Hub and just replay his morning show?
Joe, please.
Go. Okay.
Doing this deal yesterday makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. There is absolutely no need to make that trade on the 15th of June. In fact, had they waited 2 or 3 weeks, this team may slide right back into what they were, and they have all the cover in the world to make this deal. This deal was not a great return. This deal would have been on the table right up until the end of July. This deal was going nowhere. This was always going to be there. So they already had someone on the line who called and wanted him and had a package that they apparently were willing to accept. That wasn't going anywhere. And once they had one team committed to taking the deal, why did they not pick up the phone and call several others to get the best possible deal? Why were they not doing those things? And all the reporting from guys like Passan, Buster Only Net last night, talking about it during Sunday Night Baseball, said executives around the league said, we knew that if we called them, he would be available for a conversation, that they were listening. They were not actively shopping him. They were listening. They listened to the Giants. They talked to them over the course of several weeks, and then they got to that point yesterday. Listen, if you're going to trade him, you're going to trade him like you did. But why yesterday? Why not 3 weeks from now? Why not 6 weeks from now? Why not in the offseason? Why are you doing it in the middle of June when you just got yourself back into it a little bit? The timing of it is ruthless and, quite frankly, stupid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. The timing of it doesn't make any sense at all.
We kind of went back and forth on this trip out to Kansas City with Sam Kennedy and John Henry as to which side were they picking here. And at first you thought they're going out there to tell him to play. And then you think, they're siding with him because they left Craig Breslow outside the meeting, so they're siding with Devers. I think this leads you back to that this is the beginning of the end for Devers, and maybe he was adamant to them. You pay me whatever you pay me, but I'm not doing it. So maybe John Henry on a flight back said, start shopping him.
This is a Giants organization that is so desperate. They failed on Bryce Harper, Stanton back in the day, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani. You knew they had been waiting a decade to land a star. Hell, the Carlos Correa negotiations that they absolutely botched, and that physical ended up failing. They've been dying for that star. So the fact that you had that and the Wings were ready to do that, you could have held that over the Giants for the next month because they didn't have another guy on the market. There's no one who's Rafael Devers who has a top 5 OPS in the sport since April 1st. You take out that first bad series of the year when he wasn't right, he has been a top 5 hitter. It's a guy who's 8 walks away from setting his career high from last year. That's how much he's improved. But you know why you made this decision? Because they don't have a plan, and they haven't had a plan going back to the offseason because they knew on Friday when Wilyer Abreu was ready and they had to make room on this roster, something had to give. The real problem is that Craig Breslow let his ego and his hurt feelings over Rafael Devers lead to him just hitting the eject button instead of making sure he got the best return possible for a franchise star, for an organization that now you don't have Alex Bregman on this roster. He is about to destroy you. He is about to take every single dollar you have in your pocket because you have nothing of a leader or a franchise guy to build around right now. So guess what? When you have to get that deal this, whether it's September or this offseason, enjoy the $250 million contract for a 32-year-old third baseman.
Yeah, I'm not giving it to him. I'll kick him to the curb.
Yeah.
Bye. Get out.
I wouldn't give it to him either.
Don't care. Don't care about 32-year-old.
I think it's more about Anthony.
Oft injured now infielders. Nope. Good. See you later. Go get that money on the market. Not here.
I think Milliken's right, though. When we talk about ego, and we spent so much time with Rafael Devers and the ego that he has in terms of not wanting to play first and everything like that and being hurt about the third base situation.
So Breslow go do his job better.
Breslow's ego, I think, got in the way in this deal and that fight and him wanting control over this organization. And whatever the issue is between him and Cora, and we heard Michael Holley talk about it last week as well, there's something going on there. And Breslow obviously had an issue with Devers, couldn't get over it. And if Breslow's sitting there and is able to even have a half-baked sell job in terms of moving off of this Devers contract, of course John Henry's going to be on board with that. 100%.
Here's the part that is most disappointing in the last half a day is the idea by the fan base that there is some redeeming quality because of the financial flexibility the Red Sox will be offered. Very disappointing because the remaining money on this deal is $254 million. And if you've been sleeping, wake up, because $254 million in Major League Baseball now is effing pocket change. It's nothing. So, yeah, the owner will gladly sign off on not paying anybody $254 million. It shouldn't have been this guy. And so whatever the issues were between Cora and Breslow and the owner and Devers, someone needed to be the adult and get it settled and move on. Because the bat, and that's all he is a bat, is worth the $254 million that they still owe him. He didn't need to be a leader. He didn't need to play third. He didn't need to play first. He cried a lot along the way. He was a big baby about it, no doubt. Should that have been enough for them to say, we can't have this guy in our organization anymore? No, they used it as cover, and they screwed it up from the very beginning. They mishandled the situation.
They did.
My first thought after hearing that he got traded yesterday was good. Trade the manager with him, because he's proven to be useless in managing these personalities and managing this team. Send him to San Francisco, too, if you can. More on that coming up. More on this team cheaping out again, getting out from under a contract that, by the standards of the haves in Major League Baseball now, is nothing. So apparently the Red Sox are hell-bent on becoming a poverty franchise in Major League Baseball while they banged out the ballpark all weekend long. They raked it in over the weekend and then got rid of their most expensive piece. You're being duped. Don't fall for that crap that there's financial flexibility. They are the Red Sox. They always have financial flexibility. His 500th extra base hit in his career and his final home run in Boston before he was later in the afternoon shipped out to San Francisco. He is gone. He is now a Giant. See you later, Raffy. Craig Breslow and the Red Sox will speak today. They're going to hold a Zoom.
That's fun.
They're going to hold a Zoom.
Great.
So we'll hear from Breslow today. What time is that at?
I still haven't seen a time yet for
I
it.
haven't seen it.
Why don't they just tape a message and send it on their computer? Because they don't want no eye-to-eye contact with any member of the press. Let's just stay away from getting in front of people. We'll just hide on a Zoom behind our computer. That's fun. Great.
Very petty in their announcement
Oh, this is great.
yesterday after they had made the deal. If you were following the Red Sox on social media when they posted the announcement, they wrote, the Red Sox today traded third baseman / DH. Third baseman. Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. Oh, so now he plays third base again. Now you have him as a third baseman. Is that right? Yep, they listed him as a third baseman and designated hitter in the press release. That's funny.
This is the most simplistic, non-emotional post. No, thank you. No, hey.
Hey. They also gave him a 30-second tribute video. Let's not forget. Okay?
Thank you for that.
It's like Tom Brady, David Andrews all over again.
Yes, exactly 30 seconds.
Brady had more thought in his video than they did.
Yeah.
That's true. Brady did. Hey,
You were a good hitter.
David.
You were here for a while.
And so the Red Sox are going to try and run from this, is my thought. They're going to try and pretend like this was no big deal. It was not a big trade, and they're just going to move on. And so now the question is, how does the team react? And who will be on the road with the team to address the team about this? Because, listen, I don't care what you think of Rafi Devers and the contract and long-term. The fact is this team is heating up, and they just traded the best player in their lineup. And so I know a lot of people will want to assume, there were problems and he was a problem in there. I don't think he was. And I think that's a problem for the Red Sox now. The manager didn't think he was a problem. Hell, the manager defended him. So the truth is, there are guys in that clubhouse right now that are saying, what are we doing? We finally just straightened some things out. We're playing well, and we're just what? We're giving up on the season now, because that's what it looks like to me. Salary dump, get rid of them. Feels like we want the flexibility, long-term bull crap, and they found a way to just rid themselves of the player. And it's stupid.
Imagine being, Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, and Christian Campbell. All this talk about not making you the savior. Who's left? Alex Bregman's on the IL. Who's left right now to be in that starting lineup tonight?
Anthony.
It's those three, those guys. Everyone is staring and looking at them because no matter what you've said or done here, you've turned the full attention on them. There's no longer a veteran or a star player on this team that can carry the workload, at least for the next couple weeks. And you can say what you want about Bregman being here. For all we know right now, he's opting out and he's gone. And with the models the Red Sox have, we know they don't improve, of a 6 or 7 year deal for a player in their 30s like Bregman is. So all of a sudden, you've put all that on these three guys right here while the team just brought fans back in and got people going. But you crapped all over that and ruined that on its own as well.
I think it's great that Chris Cotillo asked, by the way, yesterday, Rafael Devers, if all the drama and stuff like that was past him, and Devers said, yeah, it's past us. That's we've moved on. And in terms of the reaction, I wonder how Alex Cora, the manager, is going to react to this, by the way.
That's my question,
Clearly
too.
a Rafael Devers guy, and has not been afraid to bitch and moan in past trade deadlines when they haven't gone out and added to the roster. Now you take the biggest bat off of it. Is your manager going to be on board with this, or is this going to be more of a fracture in terms of what the franchise is moving forward to? That's another piece to this thing.
Well, just based on, let's say he knew Rafael Devers was a pain in the ass and he didn't support him, right? My team is finally winning some ball games here, and now you're stripping me of my best guy in the lineup, right? So even if he was not a guy who defended him and was on his side through much of this, just as a manager of a guy who's responsible for the baseball team winning as many games as possible, taking the best hitter out of that team would piss off any manager, even a guy who's having difficulty dealing with the player. And that wasn't the case. And I don't believe there were issues with teammates. There may have been some side eye, like, come on, Rafi, why don't you go out there and try play first? But I do not believe there was infighting and issues and all of that going on there.
Because you look at this past month, they're number one in runs scored and OPS. You've had Abraham Toro and Romy Gonzalez going nuts at first base. Say what you will, one way or the other, you're getting the production there that you needed to survive. You could say you wanted to get Roman Anthony in the lineup or whatever it may be, but in terms of actual production, you were getting more out of first base than you ever did when Tristan Casas was playing earlier this year. But I think even crazier is that, at least from what Christopher Smith's report was last night, the Red Sox are still planning on buying at the trade deadline and trying to win. So you're not only telling Alex Cora, hey, yeah, we're taking away your best player. It's not that this is a white flag and it's a development year. Guess what? Still go out there and try to win when we took away your best asset you had on the whole roster.
I just think the history with Alex Cora tells you, by the way, this is not a manager that's going to suddenly galvanize this group and say it's us versus the world. With the way that he's handled deadlines in the past, I think he's going to throw up his hands and be like, unbelievable, I can't believe that this organization put me in this spot.
Oh, yeah, no, he's not. He's not. He's disinterested in the team to begin with. He's disinterested in his job. And now this gets thrown at him. I'm telling you, I would have sent him to San Francisco too. You guys got a roster spot there for a bench coach or, infield coach, or can you guys take him?
I wouldn't do infield if I was Alex Cora.
Why? He wasn't a bad infielder.
Look at the team's infield.
Oh, yeah. No, they sucked.
But you also look at Sam Kennedy. Sam Kennedy's going to talk tonight, and we had to listen 5 days ago that Rafael Devers was going to play defense for this team when the time was right.
He'll be ready when we need him.
You've been talking to the Giants for 3 weeks.
Imagine that. Imagine Sam Kennedy.
Fraud?
How many times have I told you Sam Kennedy lies through his teeth?
Yeah.
Right? Like that. I don't know how. He must have,
like, I don't know what he's talking about.
He must have some gaps in those teeth. That guy might need braces because the way in which they flow so easily from him. Oh, yeah, no, any day now. Yeah, see him out there. He's always ready to be called by you.
He didn't say for what team.
Fraud. Such a fraud. Kidding me with that? And then they trade him on Sunday.
Once they're on the plane.
I mean, you think Breslow's like a robot, a mute, just this like dork. Like, this is a big boy move for him.
So
like,
this is one
send on that. Like,
yeah,
you got to deal with the fallout.
This is what I want to push back on, though. I don't think this is all Breslow.
I agree.
And I really think it's an ownership type deal. When you're trading a guy of this caliber and of that, again, superstar status, a team gave him the big contract. Ownership to me is always involved in those deals. I don't think this is a Breslow thing in and of itself.
Do you think Henry was the one that said trade this guy?
I think
start moving him after that trip.
I think Henry probably said to Breslow, check around and see what we can do on this. Because, as Julie McWilliams reported, Devers had, in the course of all their bullcrap back in the spring, said, trade me. Didn't demand it,
the end of spring training.
but requested that they look into trading him. And so
Well, they did.
with that on their mind, that had to have been part of the conversation following everything that went on that Kansas City trip. And to me, I'm sorry, but an owner is not just all of a sudden telling the CBO, who was the 13th guy on the list, because nobody wanted the job, nobody wanted the gig. Hey, you know what? You just go ahead and you do what you think is best. That's not happening. No way.
And he could have said no.
John Henry is very much involved. John Henry wants to sit there and smoke a cigar after signing Bregman. You're kidding me? You think he's not involved in the talks about Devers? He's absolutely involved. So don't blame Breslow. I'm sure Breslow was happy to do it, but
Definitely.
just because,
Yeah.
nerds. But beyond that, this is motivated by ownership. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's also the stuff you hear getting leaked out nationally right now that according to their models, according to all this different stuff, the contract was seen as underwater. That comes from one outlook, and that comes from one standpoint as well. I think Craig Breslow just had the excuse to justify the models they had, and now when he got pants and because he got exposed for not communicating properly back to the beginning of the offseason, when they knew it was going to essentially be Arenado or Bregman after Juan Soto signed, he was ready to get out under this because he didn't give that guy that contract. Breslow told you the first week he got hired here, he wanted the DH spot to be a rotational spot for him. It was just a matter of time until he got his way.